Michelle, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, so we'll be ready to thank everybody for attending the May 7th, 2024 City of Angels City Council meeting. Roll call, please, Michelle.
Okay, Councilmember Clemente. Present. Councilmember Brolio.
Present.
Vice Mayor Moncada.
Present.
And Mayor Herndon.
Present. And we have Councilmember Sherrod is not with us tonight. As far as closed session, direction was given on item A, and then we're going to continue back at the end of the meeting tonight for B and C. So, Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Then I'm supposed to refer to. Item 5 would be recognition and acknowledgements. We have an officer commendation. So Chief Scott Ellis is going to present that for us tonight.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. As law enforcement officers, and I think the longer that we do this, we sometimes forget the human aspect of incidents that we handle and the things that we respond to and the outcomes. I'm going to talk about an incident that we handled a couple of months ago that after the fact has a bigger impact than initially believed. When we have a critical incident, we'll normally discuss our tactics, discuss the decisions that were made and the outcome and how it ended, and not necessarily the effects on the individual that may have been involved in the incident. About a week ago, the department received a message from an individual that was involved in a specific incident that Angels Camp Police Department was involved in. And first of all, I'd like to recognize a couple of my officers that are here, Sergeant Ben Savage, Officer Jody McDermott, and Officer Joe Linneo. And then my office staff, Cindy Chiro, is also here in support of the police department. So I'm just going to read. Obviously the names are not going to be part of this, but I'm just going to take it. Part of the message that was left on our voicemail. We haven't been able to have contact with this individual, but this is the gist of what the message said. Hi, this is the name. I'm calling to talk to Jody. I just wanted to, sorry if I get hung up on this a little bit. It actually hit me pretty hard. I just wanted to let you know that you saved my life today. I have 3 months clean and I'm getting my life together, and I just wanted to thank you personally. As of right now, I am forever indebted to you and grateful for you. Thank you. So now I'd like to have Officer McDermott come up here, and I'm going to read the commendation that I wrote for her. Dear Officer McDermott, I am writing to commend you for the exceptional professionalism and bravery during a critical incident on January 10th, 2024. Your quick thinking, calm demeanor, and dedication to serving and protecting the community are truly commendable. On the aforementioned date, you were dispatched to a situation involving a suicidal subject who was threatening harm to others. Upon arrival, you encountered a highly volatile and dangerous situation with a subject exhibiting non-compliant, agitated behavior while appearing to be concealing a firearm or other dangerous weapon. Despite the inherent risks and challenges, you demonstrated remarkable courage and tact in effectively de-escalating the situation. Your ability to communicate effectively and empathetically with the individual in crisis ultimately led to a peaceful resolution. By showing compassion and understanding, you were able to gain the subject's trust and cooperation, ensuring that he received the necessary mental health treatment and support. It is truly heartening to learn that your intervention had a profound and positive impact on the individual's life. The fact that he reached out to express his gratitude and acknowledge the significance of your actions speaks volumes about the difference you have made through your selfless service. Your exemplary conduct exemplifies the highest standards of law enforcement and reflects great credit upon yourself and the Angels Camp Police Department. Your dedication to duty and commitment to ensuring the safety and well-being of others are deeply appreciated and deserving of recognition. Thank you, Officer McDermott, for your unwavering courage, compassion, and dedication to duty. Your actions embody the finest traditions of law enforcement and serve as an inspiration to us all. Sincerely, Scott Ellis, Chief of Police, Angels Camp Police Department. It's yours.
Wow.
Unless Jody has something to say.
We can't thank you enough. Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Good job, Scott.
Thanks.
This is.
Anybody else have anything to say? I got goosebumps.
Wow.
And thank you to all of you for coming here tonight.
But this is gonna be. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 6. That is approval of the agenda as posted or amended. Somebody have to read that to amend the agenda.
Right after this. Thank you.
Any member of the public? See none, I did look.
Oh, no, wait, sorry.
Oh,
Public comments?
No, not yet.
We're just
Sorry.
working through the
Agenda.
agenda.
We were talking.
She's
Sorry.
already off.
Okay.
The only thing I would recommend, because Jessica is on here, and I think some members of CCWD were gonna, jump on too, if it's possible to move F up to the top.
Rock that out first.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we would be looking for a motion to modify the agenda, pull F first, and then do it in the same order other than that. Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
And second? You want to take roll call?
Yes, Councilmember Schmidt,
Aye.
Councilmember Brolio.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moncada. And Mayor Herndon.
Aye. Okay, thank you for that. Now we're gonna go with public comment. So the public may come up and address the council on any item of public interest that's not otherwise on the agenda. Just to let you guys know that no action may be taken tonight. Matters to be addressed may be placed on a subsequent meeting agenda or referred to our city staff, and then you'll be limited to 5 minutes. So go on up, and if you could just
Yeah.
introduce yourself and make sure, do we have a sign-in sheet?
Is that?
No, we
I
don't.
don't think that microphone's
I
on.
don't think that microphone is on.
It's not.
Thank you, Amy.
Michelle, do we have a sign-in sheet up there? I just want to make sure we have your contact so that we can reach back out to you.
I have a
You
paper.
got one.
We'll give you a second.
Give me a second, all right?
Yep.
Thanks, Amy.
Do you want the address where I live or my mailing address? Any way to.
Probably physical. And then a way to contact by like email or phone would be great.
Okay, there you go. All right, well, my name is Susan Rudolph, and I am a resident here in Angels Camp. And I, about 2 months ago, realized it was dark, and the parking lot that's parallel to Main Street there, behind the Mercantile and the Oddfellows Hall, it's very dark back there. And so I went over to the city hall, and I asked the staffers that were there in the front office if they could address this, because it's a safety issue, and it just didn't look safe. And I just wanted to publicly thank them for their speedy response. They got somebody out there to deal with the electricity. They cleaned up, it looked like the dumping zone. The city employees cleaned it up, and it's now a nice parking lot. There are some weeds, but I'm sure that that'll be addressed later. I have a thank you card here, and I just want to say that it's really a nice feeling to be able to come in and work collaboratively with the City of Angels Camp and the employees. And I know that they do a lot of work, as Chief Ellis said. And, you know, this isn't an accommodation, but this is a thank you note, just because I really appreciate it. And I know that we have a large area to manage, and so sometimes things get overlooked, but it's a lot nicer up there and more inviting for the people who are going to come here and visit in Angels Camp too. So this is just a thank you note for your staff.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
And for sharing.
Absolutely. Additional public comment? Anybody online?
You got one.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is J.R. Williamson, and I live in Angels Camp. And I've got 2 building sites under construction directly next to my house. And one of them is really egregious in that they start using heavy machinery as early as 5:45 in the morning, hitting bedrock with a digger. And so we called the police and they said, well, we can't really do anything because there's no code violation, because there's no code. And there's no code because there's no ordinance. And in the past, an ordinance or 2 have been drafted, but never passed. And they said, well, we've sent dozens of people up to the city council, but maybe you're the one. Maybe you can go convince them that, having a digger fire up a diesel engine at 5:45 in the morning on a Saturday is perhaps, I don't know, by any definition, disturbing the peace. So what I'd like to propose is that maybe you could, I don't know, maybe 7 o'clock during weekdays and 8 o'clock in the morning on the weekends or something, whatever you have already evidently drafted. If you could maybe pass that so that there could then be a code so that then when I call the police, they could actually do something, that would be really helpful. My wife and I both work from home. My wife's office is in the front of the house, directly across the street from one of the building sites. The other building site is next door, which is next to my office. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult. I know some of that can't be overdone, but seriously, on a weekend, before 6 in the morning. So I'd just like you to, again, evidently you have many times before, but if you could again consider that and perhaps do something would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment and we will move on to the regular agenda. We will start with item F, which is the discussion and approval of resolution.
You want to do consent?
Oh, let's do consent. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling way too fast. Item 8, consent. We have 4 items on consent, 3 minutes, and then the 1 resolution declaring the intent to continue assessment. Anybody have any reason to pull either of those items for discussion?
I'd like to pull D, please.
Okay, pull item D. Any others?
I need to abstain from item 3.
Okay,
So we
This
can
is
pull that.
discussion.
do we have to actually formally pull it and then, or can we just simply have her not vote on that A? It'll be all at once, you gotta pull it. Okay, so A and D will be pulled,
And A is the Utica Park update.
but it's a one
Oh,
vote
yeah,
for all,
yeah,
if
never mind,
it
I
was,
think
yeah,
that's
if
right.
it was not in consent. Okay, so we'll, look for a motion, do we have any public comment on our consent? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to pass items B and C on consent.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, Michelle?
Okay, Councilmember Shamante.
Aye.
Councilmember Grolio.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moncada. Aye. And Mayor Herndon.
We'll go ahead and discuss item A, any changes or amendments to the minutes as they were written. Any members of the public to comment on the minutes for the April 2nd? Okay, so we'd be looking for a motion and approval with Isabel to abstain on that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, Michelle?
Councilmember Shamante.
Aye.
Councilmember Grolio.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moncada. Abstain. And Mayor Herndon.
Okay, and Councilmember Shamante, item D, this is the approval of resolution 24-38, declaring the intention to continue assessments for fiscal year 24-25, preliminary approving the engineer's report and providing a notice of hearing on June 18th for the landscape and lighting district number 2 Greenhorn Creek assessment. This is your item to discuss.
Thank you. This could be a question from my previous background, but I thought the document was well written. When you get to the end, it lists all the owners of property with their physical address and APN numbers. That raises a level of concern for me. I understand it's all public, accessible, but, could we just do like APN numbers or whatever? I mean, does it have to be legally, does it have to be the owner of the property and the physical address of the property and the APN number? Again, it's part of my past life where I always worried about when we publish lists of addresses and names, whether or not somebody's looking for somebody or whatever, so.
Yeah, I we could look at that. I'm pretty sure that we need to have all of that in there. We're talking about assessments.
And we couldn't just do the APN number? You don't think?
I don't know that. I can look at that.
Yeah,
I can.
I have to look at it because the issue is it's also whoever is gonna pay it, it's who's on record at the time. So
So it goes on the text, it goes on the tax rolls, correct?
unless there's a transfer before we put the,
I would just, I understand if it has to be, but if it doesn't have to be, if it could be a little softer, that would be good too.
We can take a look at that. I fully understand that. I'm not available putting any more information out to the public that we're absolutely required to.
With that, I make a motion to approve.
Real
Oh, I'd like to try-
quick, public
I
comment.
know.
Does anybody have any public comment on that?
Count how many times it happens.
No public comment? Okay, now we're looking for the motion.
So I make a motion to approve item D.
I'll second.
Councilmember Shemente.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlio.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moncada. Aye. And Mayor Herder.
Aye. Okay, thank you for that. Now we're moving on to the regular agenda, and we are going to move to item F, discussion and approval of resolution 24-40, supporting the Highway 4 Regional Water Supply Partnership. Rebecca.
yes,
This is
so. We did have a PowerPoint presentation, but I.
Can't read it. Is that the one you emailed?
No. Anyway, so this is, and we have Michael Winkler, who is the general manager for CZMD. We also have Jessica South, which is the GM for Union Public Utility District Fund as well. So, what this partnership really is all of the JPA members meet regularly to talk about water supply and issues with regard to water, and each one of us has, whether it's in our strategic plan or our kind of documents looking for sustainable water, reliable water. And the biggest reason we can always look back to the Darby fire, right? And the plume system burning. And so one of the areas of concern is about water reliability, but also we're finding a lot more often that, we're also finding that a lot more often, the grant options that are out there, the state is really looking for coordinated projects. So instead of 5 different agencies all applying for a grant, they're looking for projects that would benefit multiple jurisdictions. So it's not necessarily consolidation, but it is trying to find either economies of scale or where we can work together. So we're all meeting regularly, and then the conversation of the tunnel tap came up. Well, the tunnel tap is really CCWD's infrastructure. So we kind of met, and this was quite a while ago, and I said, it might make sense for us to kind of stand back and think of this in a bigger arena where we're all looking for the same thing. We all would benefit from this, and we all don't need to be going in the same direction separately. And so we have been meeting, we kind of just named ourselves the Highway 4 Regional Group, H4U. We're still coming up with, maybe a slogan, I don't know. But it really is the entire Highway 4 corridor community trying to figure out where can we work together to get reliable and sustainable water supply for our residents and our businesses. And so we started talking about this partnership. This is not a new concept. This is something that was discussed for decades. And actually, we identified that right before COVID, there was actually a resolution that was going to come forward that was going to do something very similar to this, but it wasn't just the Highway 4 area. It was across the entire county, and it also included solid waste. In our particular case, we thought, well, that may be a good model going forward, but for us, we need to kind of narrow that effort down a little bit and consolidate the efforts and kind of focus just on water supply and improving operational efficiency and strengthening our emergency response plans. If you look at any of our response plans, there's an overlapping that you'll find between the different agencies. So the idea is to get buy-in from each of the legislative bodies. So this has already gone to CCWD, it went to UPUD, it went to Utica, and there's been really resounding support. I think if you look at the history, we all haven't all gotten along very well. And now we're in a position where we really do get along very well. We're all very intelligent, motivated people, and we're all looking to work together really for the common good. And it's that water reliability. So, we've kind of written up everything that's in here, and really we're just looking for the city council to support the proposed multi-agency collaboration. And, working together, potentially sharing some resources and leveraging expertise. Ultimately, we would be looking at developing a kind of a longer term planning document. We don't really know what that looks like. I'm sure there would be costs associated with that. We don't really know what that looks like. But it's just a matter of, before we delved too far into this, we wanted to make sure we had a lot of solid support from each of our legislative bodies before we go down there. So I'll give, Michael or Jessica, if either one of you want to chime in.
There you go.
I can go first. So thank you all for coming up here and talking about this item. I apologize. Michael, Joel, and I were all down in Sacramento at the Aqua conference this week, so we couldn't meet in person. But I think Rebecca did a really good job at summarizing the need for this and why we're doing this. I think it's really exciting that all 4 agencies collaboratively, want to work together and make sure that we have the focus of water supply reliability for the long term and keeping, local control of our water. And really thinking about things that have happened in the past. We all share the same. I think the 3 of us, agencies, CCW, UPUD, and City of Angels, we all have the challenge of not having a backup water supply system. So looking at different ways that we can have an emergency intertie or different backups is, I think, crucial and imperative for all of us to really focus on. Whether it's UPUD having an intertie with CCWD with their Epitas service area that's less than a mile away from our treatment plant, or what if something happens to the flume downstream from UPUD and City of Angels is out of water? How can UPUD and City of Angels have an intertie so that we can make sure our community has a backup or multiple backups? What does this look like? And I think, all of us pulling together resources or potentially having a study, can look into these options. So we're all really excited about this, and we're excited to bring this to you guys tonight. So I'll hand it over to Michael.
Yeah, thank you all for considering this. And again, like Jessica, I'm sorry that I can't be there. I think Rebecca nailed it and made a lot of really good points. In particular, I think just the timing and how well all of our agencies are working together, and also just the timing in terms of the, how critical it is that we do the work we need to do to defend our water rights, and at the same time that we're doing it in the most cost-effective way possible. We're all experiencing cost increases, and we're all, we all have frustrated right there that we have to pass this cost increase on. And so, I think affordability is a part of this, and making sure that we're all delivering services in the most efficient way possible, and that we're also protecting the long-term water resources interests of our communities. So I'm excited that we're all going in on this together. We really appreciate the council's support.
So really what we're looking for is support and approval of resolution 2440, supporting the Highway 4 Regional Water Supply Partnership.
Okay, thank you for that. Public comment. Does anybody have anything to say about this? I'm gonna bring it back. I'm just trying to rock it out. Okay.
So I appreciate the work that's being put into this endeavor. Would this better position us for future grants as if we were working as collaboratively?
Yeah, so the state is really changing their grant structure. And so we're finding more and more that one of the boxes to check is multi-agency cooperation. And so they don't want to spend, they want to spend that $1 and have it benefit multiple agencies. And so whether that is, like what Jessica was talking about, potential, intertie, or more comprehensive, planning documents across all of the agencies. But, the state is really changing their grant structure. They're changing the competitiveness, and, it's really hard for rural agencies in general to successfully apply and get rewarded grants. And so we're trying to position ourselves in a way where it's more possible. And then the other thing is, when we've met and talked, we don't want to be here, 5 years from now going, so what do we do now when there's an emergency? We want to have this plan and the response ready to go. Because, any of us who lived here, after the Darby fire, it was a little sketchy, and we ran around and it worked out, and, we figured out how to get it done, but that was all very reactive. And so having, more solid plans and Jessica's right, it may not be the 3/4 mile plume. It could be an issue down further. It could be a dam failure. It could be a number of issues. So,
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, I would just like to comment that, as we've said on the other boards that have also adopted this, it's a great idea based on efficiency, the collaboration, the team, the affordability ideas, the emergency response. I think this is a really good time, and I'm pretty proud to be part of it. So I'd like to make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number, where are we at? 24-40, supporting the Highway 4 Regional Water Supply Partnership. Did you have something else you want to say before my motion?
I don't know. I have mixed emotions on this one. So, I thought we all had interagencies, mutual aid partnerships already, letters filled out, signed back and forth to one another. And I don't know, for me, this kind of feels like maybe the start of consolidation. And I don't know how I feel about that per se. I'm all for options, especially when there's emergencies, and we need to look into all of our water supply things. I just don't know if I need a resolution to do that at this moment. So I don't know how I feel on this at the moment. All I can say.
Sorry about that.
No, you're
Jumped
fine.
out. There's a motion on the floor.
Go for
If
it.
anybody wants to consider a second of the motion? Okay, seeing none.
No, well, I'll make, yeah, I'll second. So that's so we can discuss. You know, I think,
We have a motion and a second. Discussion's already over, so now we'll have Michelle pull the board for the, did you make a second on the motion or?
no, I did.
Okay. Michelle?
Councilmember Shinante,
I,
Councilmember Brolio,
Nay. I want more time.
Vice Mayor Moncada,
Yeah, I'm a nay as well.
and Mayor Herman.
And I'm a yes, I'm a yay. So what we'll do is have staff reconsider this and maybe bring it back at a later date. Looks like we need a third vote. Okay. Okay, thank you for that. And thank you, Jessica and Michael, for being on the call with us tonight. We will,
Thank you.
thank you so much. We will move
Thank you all. Have a
on.
good day.
I didn't hear what it was saying.
You said-
Oh, gosh. Okay, so now we're going in order and we're gonna go with, item A. This is the Utica Park update. Amy.
Mayor and council members, the survey has been completed. Things were on the ground where we expected them to be. We walked the playground with the playground specialist, the contractor, and Boyer. Actually got to measure where it was going, confirmed that where the swings would go would not hit people in walkways. It was sort of exciting to actually be laying things out. It's going to be, it looks larger when it's on the ground, which is pretty cool. They sequentially ordered things. So the people who took longest got the order in first. So they expect everything to arrive the first week in July. And before that, we would be doing some site prep there. So that's basically where we are on that. We walked the site with PG&E, who was, as I said, they want to give us trees, and they basically had some suggestions, and we had suggestions, and licensed landscape architect is going to be brought on board, and they will help us decide which trees go where. We met with the interpretive sign committee, and we basically got the text worked out. We're trying to match photos with the text, and make sure that what we're saying in the text is completely accurate. And lastly, we had forwarded two potential dates of May 21st and June 4th for groundbreaking. We're a little too close to May 21st at this point, so we would like your input right now, if humanly possible, on June the 4th, which is a Tuesday, and it is a board meeting, council meeting date, but that is sort of one of the last times we'll potentially be able to get out there without having things sort of chaotic. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, let's go with council real quick. Let's talk about any questions we have, and then we'll throw out the June 4th idea too.
so is just gonna be just a ceremonial ribbon, but they will be out there working prior to that? Have we sent out the notice?
They will have some groundwork up so that we can do a shovel. But no, we are not to the point where we're knocking on the door. Sending out a notice.
So prior to June 4th, they're not gonna start then? Is that what I don't understand.
Well, correct. We're not expecting them to start before June 4th with anything that's significant enough that it would prevent us from
Okay.
being able to do that.
So this is really just ceremonial. So if you all are not interested in a ceremonial groundbreaking, then you don't have to do it. It's just, everyone's been waiting for a really long time to get this done.
Sure.
We thought it would be a positive, time to kind of kick it off, but it's ultimately.
I don't know. The June 4th is straightforward. I looked at mine.
Yeah.
I don't have anything on my schedule.
So-
to add.
Has the notice to proceed been issued?
No.
Why?
Because we have to wait until the design is adopted so that,
Have
then
adopted design?
No.
I question that because I thought at the last meeting we did move forward.
we
So-
adopted the conceptual design. So what they're doing is the engineer level design.
so that they can then produce all the plans, the construction plan, and then we give a notice to proceed.
Okay,
we
so
don't
can you
want-
talk a little bit more about the timeline for that process? What, from concept to design to construction design to plans? What's Boyer saying is that timeline?
So we're going to be doing some phasing. So the first thing that will be worked upon and the notice to proceed is when we have their plan to do the grading for the playground, which we should have fairly shortly. But they do not want to do that until they've also worked out all of the irrigation, all of the electrical and whatnot.
So can you, are we putting any, have they provided a schedule for that other than fairly soon in terminology like that? Can we get it more dialed in?
We can give you their tentative timeline,
Okay,
but it is a tentative timeline.
okay, what is that?
It is, they are supposed to, by the end of this month, have the plan in a finalized location of where everything is going to go. And then we will go from there. We will actually be, like I said, we're going to have finalized plans for the playground first. Then we will have finalized plans for the next segment and the next segment. So we're not going to hold up the whole project while we wait for every design detail to be worked out. But we at least need the underground issues to be resolved before we can start on the playground.
So is the council at the next meeting gonna take action on approving these formalized plans on the 21st? Any phase of this by the
Yeah, like the
21st?
first day. Yeah,
I would say June 4th would be more likely that you would do that, although I have to be honest with you, we were not planning on bringing any more plans back to you finalized because the ones we brought to you are pretty much what is going to happen.
so we're not holding anything up.
You are not holding anything.
Okay.
No, the plan she's talking about is engineered plan.
Okay.
We're
So
talking
the
engineered
contractor-
construction
Okay.
plans that our building official and city engineer will look at.
And that's at the end of the month.
That's what we're aiming for, is the end of the month.
End of the month, and then shovels or equipment there at first part of
First part of June.
You're moving first part.
Boots on the ground, dirt, first part of June.
That is what they have been telling us.
So with public comment,
And then we
call
call
you on everything you said or.
Okay. Other questions or comments? I was gonna look at budget. How are we doing on budget, Amy? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
We are doing fine on budget. We keep getting supplemental funding. We got the cost estimate for plugging the shafts versus fencing the shafts, except that we need to know the actual cost of the concrete before we then bring it to you, ask you if you want to fence it or have the holes plugged. That will be on May 21st.
That'll be at the next meeting,
Yes.
okay?
To plug or not to plug.
Okay, other questions, anybody, before I go out to public comment? Okay, public comment on this?
Okay,
Susan Rudolph again. I just had a question. I had read that the Mark Twain statue is going to be moved for restoration, and that's going to happen obviously before all of this other stuff. Where is it going to go? Who's doing the
It's
restoration?
gonna go to the Angels Camp Museum. It'll be on display during the renovation process. It'll be
Okay.
there the whole time.
And then,
And
is
then
it,
it'll come back to the
is
park
it going
where
to be cleaned and,
it's gonna
okay.
be fully renovated.
And do we know who this is going to do that? Yes.
The lady behind you might
Yeah,
have
she
all
can
the
talk to you about it after.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Yes, yes. Awesome.
Patricia Harkins. Amy, 2 meetings before this, you said the playground equipment was already ordered,
Yes,
and it still can't get here till July.
correct.
So,
What's the
so
holdup?
real quick, what we'll do, Sue, we'll have you, Patricia, we'll have you make your comment, and then we'll have Amy reach out to you later.
Okay.
And I understand you have questions, so go
Yes,
ahead
I
and
do.
state your
Also,
question.
prior meeting, you said start could be about May 24. Now you're pushing it to the sometime first or second week in June. Why? I mean, again, I've got questions. I've been here every meeting, listening to every word, every discussion because of this park, and I have an interest in it. And I've been listening to your comments. I've been noting them when I get home, and I can recall them. And I'm telling you back what you have said at these meetings, and that's not what you're saying today. And I don't understand the difference. To me, you're talking in circles at times when council asks you a question. You've given them a but and a maybe and a as if and a this and a that and a we gotta wait on this and then we gotta wait on that and we got this to go. It's you talk in circles at times, and I am standing here right now telling you, today you've said and just contradicted what you've said at prior city council meetings as far as the park going. And I just don't understand it. And if the council isn't going to call you on it, I have to. And I'm sorry. And I don't know why council hasn't called you on it. They've been at the same meetings I have. They heard the same stuff and they let you slide. And that's all I got to say, but it's annoying.
Any other public comment? Do we have anybody online, Michelle, that would like to make a comment on the park?
There's no.
Okay, seeing none, I come back to council. Any final questions or comments on Utica Park? Right.
I'd like to hear from Amy. I mean, she's standing there.
Okay. Amy, do you have more to present?
Simply to clarify some misunderstandings, perhaps, that some of these supplies take 12 weeks. We did anticipate that it would take 12 weeks from the date that it was ordered. 12 weeks from the date it was ordered puts it in the beginning of July. We did anticipate that it would start in June, and everybody is quite upset that it will start in June and not sooner. Unfortunately, there's not a lot we physically can do to move that forward faster, but it will start in June. And anything we can do to expedite that, we certainly will. And in response to Mark Twain being moved, I imagine that'll be somewhat related to item 9E, because that particular contractor would have a bunch of equipment out there and perhaps might be able to do item 9E and move Mark Twain at the same time. We did meet with him and with Martin, picked out exactly where Mark Twain will go outside of the carriage house, and we are working on getting a platform so that we can move Mark Twain in and out. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Moving on to item B. Sorry, my computer is really acting up today. Item B is discussion and direction on animal keeping. Rebecca. Yours is weird too?
Okay. So, we, got direction from council to bring this, back to have conversations about it. Basically, the background here is in the staff report, but at the end of the day, in 2021, there were, 2 ordinances that were adopted. And so it was the first introduction of what is termed animal keeping. And so that would really refer to small and large animals. I wasn't here during this time in terms of city council, so wasn't really following along with it. I think there was probably limited in-person meetings still going on at that time. So, possibly not a lot of people were following anything too closely around then. And the reality is we don't really hear anything at the city until a complaint happens. And really the complaints are noise and hygiene. And it's never about the number of animals. It's about roosters, or it's about, just mess. We've had, code compliance, complaints of, vermin infestation. And so it usually happens to be where someone's keeping animals and they keep their food just out, right? Or they throw their kitchen waste or garbage on the ground and free-range chickens come and eat it. And it's caused rodents or bug infestation or whatever. And it's usually the neighbor next door starts complaining. So those are the complaints that happen. So we, looked through what's in our code, and I contacted environmental health, who also manages animal services, and I sent her our code. And her feeling was it is pretty restrictive in terms of the number. She, recommended kind of looking at some various agencies and what they're doing. And the common theme is really setbacks, and it is no roosters, and it is making sure that the animals, especially in residential areas, are penned. Because even if you have a setback, the animals don't really listen to stay 15 feet away or 40 feet or whatever it is. So those are the common themes when we look at other agencies. So it's really not about the numbers, although I would still recommend in any of them, we did find that there was, it might not be a number, but it might see number of square feet per animal, right? Or there were some that said can't exceed 10 per half an acre. But that would be 10 of everything. So that would include your dogs and your cats and your chickens and your whatever is on your property. But the biggest thing was no roosters, cooping or penning, setback requirements, and there are some jurisdictions that required registering. I'm not an advocate of that because we just don't have the staff to do some sort of registration licensing program. But really the biggest issue is the code complaints. That's it, which it stems from noise and hygiene. So really what we're asking is, do you want to change the existing municipal code? Do you want to limit to zoning types, or does it matter? Is there a minimum parcel size? Do you want to limit the number of animals per parcel? Do you want to have setback requirements? And if you do, what do you want those to be? Do you want to have licensing? Do you want to still have some sort of administrative use permit if it's not in alignment with code? Do you want to have fees associated with that? And ultimately, any recommendations that you make, do you want this to go back to the planning commission, or do you want it to be brought back directly to city council?
Did it go to planning during COVID? That time around, do we know?
They went to the planning commission.
That's what I meant.
Because they changed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. And that was the change to the conditional use permits at that time?
That was the introduction, because prior, there was nothing in our code about any other.
Okay. Question?
Okay, so, we live in an ag community, and I believe that we need to create an ordinance that allows the raising of chickens. Whatever that number we decide on, 10 or 12, no roosters. I think they need to be caged. And I think it should be a permitted use. Everybody's time is valuable, and, I'm not sure how compliant folks are gonna be. And if there's a complaint, then we can deal with the complaint. But I do believe it should be a permitted use. I have some issues with other language in the ordinance, especially with large animal. You've heard me say it before, and I'm gonna say it again. You can't keep a cow on an acre unless you're gonna feed it. if it's a 4-H project and, and so, and I appreciated moving the ordinance, but I think a lot of the meat of what we were gonna talk about tonight was buried in that ordinance. And so, you had to dig through it and, but I do believe we're an ag community and I believe we should allow folks to raise chickens, no roosters, et cetera, a number and have them be caged.
Alvin, do you have something to say?
Sure, I'll go.
Go ahead.
I agree with what Mike said. I think we need a number of chickens, no roosters. Cleanliness is a thing. Like I just quickly Googled things and got some quick answers, or just some notes. Like Modesto, you can have 12 hens, no roosters. Sacramento, 3 hens, but it's a $15 permit, $10 per hen. Elk Grove, and these are bigger cities, but they were easy to Google. So, Elk Grove, you can have 6 cooped chickens and 5 foot from all property lines. So I think we need to look at this and then kind of go over it and come up with something that fits our community, is my recommendation.
Yeah, and I agree with what both of you are saying. And just in my morning walks, I can hear and see that there are quite a few people in the city already that have chickens. And obviously, I know we're complaint driven, but I think that, like Mike said, we are ag. I mean, why do we all live here? We love it. It's Angels Camp. It's small. It's all the things. So we should adjust to that.
And let me flip back for 1 second too. And I do cleanliness, flies. I mean, there are things that come with that too that we still have to keep under control also. So that's fine.
And be respectful.
And be respectful of your neighbor too. So there's the other flip side of that. So I'm done.
So would it be safe to say that this is gonna need to go back to planning to come up with that, or we want to do
I
it?
want to keep it here.
Okay,
I want
what do
to
you guys think about that?
That's fine. I would agree with that.
Okay.
Go either way. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when this change happened, when it came to us, it was buried in a bigger plan, and we were told there was no changes to what was in there. We needed this to have something, and it was language cleanup, and here we have some restrictions. And I actually don't think that we should have to have conditional use permits for chickens. I think that it should be according to the zoning. And I think that anything, people want to self-regulate. They want to comply. I really think everybody wants to comply, and we want to be neighborly. So in the event that that can happen, then maybe a permit needs to get involved with an exception type conditional use permit. But for the most part, I don't think permits should be required for animals. So I do think that that would be my recommendation, to have staff take a dive on that. But we do have members of the public here tonight, so let's see what they have to say. Open up public comment.
I should keep my mouth shut. I totally agree. I'm kind of Spence, as y'all know, but I totally agree with what you guys have said. And hens don't make that much noise other than when they're going to lay an egg. But I think that when you come up with your numbers of what you're going to do, chickens, take a look at how many they lay every year and so forth. I mean, 300 is an exceptional amount if you can get a bird that's going to lay that much. And not every day is every hen going to lay. So I'm just hoping when you guys come together with what you're going to, come up as far as numbers, a reasonable number, maybe, 12 to 15. But there again, I think it's going to depend on what you have. And as far as setbacks, I think right now, I don't know how many complaints you guys are getting on poultry. I don't know if you can tell me that. How many do you have come through the office? Do you get a lot of complaints on that?
It's enough where it's noticeable. We'll have, I've had like 5 or 6.
But most of it's probably roosters or the people
It's roosters.
the overfeeding. Yes.
That's the 2.
Okay, and I think that that's within reason. I don't know about the setbacks. I think most of the people that I've talked to and people that have, I think if they have good enough fences and so forth, and they stay within, and they're not running on the street and so forth. But I just would hope that when you guys look at it, some of those cities, as you said, Alvin and so forth. If you go all through that whole Sacramento area, it varies according to each one of those places. And I think that some of it's, bigger lots and so forth. But like I say, I would just, hope that at least 12 on the chickens. And I don't think that you should be bringing, dogs and cats into, the poultry side. I think that's a whole different, because half the time they're in a person's house anyway. So, but just, look around a little bit more and hopefully you can come to a good resolution.
It's okay to ask, is it okay to ask a question?
Go for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
what do you recommend square footage for the size of a pen for 12?
I have some coop books and I would have to look at them and tell you, and I would be happy to get the information and bring it back to you.
Or just maybe just share it with.
I think staff recommended one of them, based on animals per size. Wasn't it in there?
There was, I did find one and it was like,
A foot?
for
No,
two,
it's like
was it
2 square feet.
2 square feet?
Yeah.
And it's 1 by 1.
Oh, 1 by 1, okay,
Yeah, and that's what I've seen as well.
okay.
There's just,
Okay, other public comment on this item? Any online? Okay, seeing none,
I just have one more.
go ahead.
Maybe. Amy, when you bring this, I'm assuming you're gonna be working on it. Can we not have the whole other ordinance? Can we just have this this language specific? Or does it have to be embedded in the complete ordinance?
No, it did not need to have all that.
Okay, so,
Did it just be a strike through of just the chicken portion?
perfect.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I am. I still am a little bothered by hoofed animals, but that's just because, I guess.
you have a pygmy goat though too, like
No.
I said.
Well, I think if it's a 4-H project for a cow, but, I've watched a lot of overgrazed land with the number of cows on the property that they shouldn't have. And, it's not only heartbreaking, but it's pathetic and it's just not what you should be doing. But, in most of these ordinance, Amy, are they directed more to 4-H folks, or is it just in general?
And
So I
4-H
can
is
imagine
not included in.
having Mel have a cow in his backyard.
Well, and unfortunately, there's more and more people buying the cute little mini cows.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
gonna become more
yeah.
mini pigs, mini cows, pigs that are in the house,
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
litter
Oh,
trained and
okay.
such, so.
But I just wanted to clarify, you feel there should be more cows on
No,
the
I don't think that's,
You were-
I don't think that's enough ground if you're gonna feed. We had this great discussion the other day when I was in the store.
Because I was just gonna limit things to like chicken.
Well, you should,
Right, so I
you
think
should,
we need to
that's, you should, I'm bird walking.
That's all right, that's all right.
Because
Just wanna make sure
it just is
addressed.
an issue for me, but it was when I was on the planning commission too.
Yeah.
It was, so,
This is primarily tailored to urban chicken keeping.
yeah,
and
chickens, we're limited
urban
to chickens.
lots. Once you get up to 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 acres, it's all permitted already in the
Right.
code. So it's just, we're talking R1.
Right.
Small.
Limited to chickens.
I did see, and I can't recall which jurisdiction, but it did have a carve out for youth, I forget how it was worded, but it was like youth animal program or something like that.
Sure.
So there was some carve out language, in that, because that is the thing, and it's, you don't really pay attention. It's like you want a white car and then everywhere you look, all you see is white cars. So, yes, in anyone's backyard, there's chickens or there's a pig that they're raising that normally they wouldn't have. They would just have it for up to fair, or
Right.
they have, turkeys or goats or whatever they have. But how ours is written is irrelevant of those youth programs. But I did see some language in one of them that how it felt.
So we're clear that we're just dealing with chickens, or you're gonna dig into it? Cause I think we should stay away from anything else and just.
Yeah, let's do chickens, I'm okay. That was on my soapbox, I
All right.
apologize.
So for clarity.
Bird walking.
So
No bird.
My soapbox.
just poultry.
I believe, yes.
Okay. And then is there a consensus on setbacks or just?
So I could agree that it would be neighborly to try to respect the location of your pen, your chicken coop in your backyard relative to whose house is where. You know, you have to handle that with setbacks. What did we see? We saw,
I think Modesto, one of them had 40, one of them had 15. I did notice a lot were kind of more in that 12 to 15 foot range, but 40 seemed like a lot.
Yeah.
40 is a lot.
You're not
That's a
gonna
big
have
lot.
It must, yeah.
No.
Can you make it 40 relative to a bigger lot? If it's an acre lot, 40 is not bad, but 40 relative to a quarter acre lot is all your lot. So can
Yeah.
you make it a percentage of?
We could do it that way, but that's, I mean, that's when we're getting in the weeds on.
I know,
We have to
I don't
have this
know,
in
I'm
future
just-
discussion. I think you maybe bring us, what, 10,
Okay.
how's that sound? What, 10? From, from
Okay.
Oak Grove to.
Yeah, comparison.
I don't know, Sutter Creek.
Yeah, and-
You know what I mean? Some size comparisons in there?
And we really are talking residential, correct?
Yeah.
More than,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
What's a residential lot and what's?
R1 or what?
Yeah.
Is that enough direction? Or you want to nail down more?
We're good.
And as far as the no roosters go, I hear roosters all over the city. I love the sound. I mean, I love it. So I don't know how we're going to tackle a no rooster policy, or is it gonna be more noise complaint? I'm asking.
That's what we get right now, it's a noise complaint.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's because it's right next to their house.
Their windows.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at it when you bring it and see what everybody else is doing. I guess, would that be agreeable to everybody?
Yeah, that's enough.
You okay?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna move on to one more item and then we're gonna take a break. So item 9C is discussion on the city website and social media outreach assessment.
Do you have that?
Actually, let's take a break real quick while you get your presentation set. Is that okay?
That sounds
All right,
good.
thank you. Sam, we're gonna take a break just a sec.
Let's go.
There you go.
Okay, we are back. Thank you. Item 9C, discussion of the city website and social media outreach assessment.
Okay, so I just wanted to kind of bring this to you. A while back, there was questions kind of like, well, where are we with like traffic and how much goes on there? And is there any analytics on this? So I thought it would just be a good time to kind of go over, where we're at. We really went from nothing to where we are today. So we had a non-functioning website. We had no social media presence. Little iffy on press releases. We didn't do newsletters. The last newsletter that I could find was done several years ago. We didn't have any interactive voice response or IVR. There wasn't a lot of community engagement. There was no community engagement portals. Our phone system was extremely lacking. And then text we'll talk about in a little bit. So website traffic. So we started, once we got the website up and running, then you have to go through Google and turn the analytics on, and then it takes so long for it to start tracking. So we worked with Level 1, who helped us redesign the website. So it started tracking in November of 2023. So you can see, it went up. And so we hover right now pretty high, around between 2,500 and 3,000 users. And then in terms of where do most people go? Most people go to the mayor city council page. And so we would believe that's because they're looking for the agenda, but a lot of people watch our meetings. So they may not be present during the meetings, they're watching. So the links are on.
So the Sam's recordings are being posted on there? And how long, like a year's worth, or they're all?
They're just there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they are.
So
YouTube is forever.
You're pretty handsome on camera.
Okay.
So that was really.
I knew people watched the videos a lot. I just didn't know
I didn't know where they were getting.
That's Sam. That's where they go.
Thank you, Sam.
Sam puts them there. And then visiting Angels, human resources, and so you can see kind of, you know, where people are going in terms of use. So Facebook, we started in November of 2022. So right now we have 1,037 followers. Since inception, we have reached 35,700 people, right? And total visits to our Facebook is 9,700. Now, this is always dependent on what we post. So anyone know what what we get the most hits on? It's the park.
Oh, yeah.
So if we do a park post, it would be like 3,500. In terms of cities, you know, this is the nice part, is our community getting the information that we need off of our social media? And the answer is the majority of our followers or the people that engage with our social media is Angels Camp. So that's good. Now compared to other government agencies, so you can look at the type of industry that you're in, and Facebook's meta data area will kind of give you the information. So the City of Angels scores at an 11 out of 10 for publishing. So we engage a lot on social media. Our follower score is 22, which means when we put something out there, people follow it. That's compared to other government agencies, which have a 6. We have fantastic contact interaction. So much so it's 118 compared to most government agencies is 40. And
Likes, that's how many thumbs up we get. Okay.
And then followers, you know, over 1,000 compared to most government agencies have just under 900. So we do really, really well on Facebook. And generally what we'll do is we will put the news, if you will, on our website, and then we will put that link on Facebook. So no matter what, people are always engaging and it's taking it back to our website and event. So we also do press releases. So I have a really good relationship with our local press, and so whether it's you know, when we were talking about moving Mark Twain, I reached out to all of the press agencies and said, please send this out, and please don't just share it one time, repeatedly share it, because someone's gonna miss the story on Tuesday, but maybe they'll get it on Thursday. And then I also reached out, BJ Hansen was on there, so people have heard it on the radio as well. So we kind of go across.
I think it was on KCRA3 too.
We put it on.
Yeah.
So we really do try to push this as much as possible. So I pushed it out to Martin so he can use his contacts. We pushed it out kind of everywhere we possibly can. So I also make a point, if DJ Hansen asks me to do a radio interview, I will do a radio interview. I think it's a great way to get the city out there. Newsletters, email, and print. So we did the annual billing insert, so that went out to about 1,800 customers. And then we started using Constant Contact in May of 2023. So Constant Contact is our email electronic newsletter format.
But we still don't have everyone's email, correct? Are we still working that?
We don't. And you have to be careful because they have to opt in.
No, that's right, but I mean,
yeah.
so, okay.
Yeah. So right now we have we've sent out 6,168 newsletters, 4,205 have been opened, and 937 clicks. That's really good. So gonna go to the next one. So subscribers, 305 were added by the city because people would contact us and say, I want to be added to this list. 310 were added organically, which means we would put out a you know, join our newsletter, you know, find out more, and then they would click on the QR code or they would go to the link and then they would join. Out of the whole time that we've been doing this, only 9 have unsubscribed. So our current subscribers is 634. So then also community engagement. So with our updated website, and then we worked to find, what's a software that we can use where we can work smarter, do some self-service, can engage with the community where they want to. And so we chose iWork, which is across of building planning, business licenses, code compliance, and work orders. And then we also have bill pay through our utility billing system. And then we just went live with you can pay your parking citation now on the police website. So wherever we can possibly make it easier for people to give us money, we're doing that. All of these options are available on our website, and we try to push this information out as much as possible. We just added fire permits. So now you don't have to come into the fire station to get a burn permit. You can go online and get your burn permit. There's still no fee for it, but at least it's saving you a trip because you don't have to drive down here if you don't want to. So also our phone system. So phone system went live November of 2023, and since that time, we've had 3,180 incoming calls to City Hall. So for a little bitty staff, that's a lot of calls. You can see the bulk is going into building, planning, and code compliance, followed by water and sewer. And so water and sewer could be, I have a question about my utility bill. It could be, I want to, either if there's a water leak or I need, I have a leak on my property, whatever it is. And then just kind of general queue, finance and human resources. We're going to work here pretty soon on narrowing this down a little bit more so we can get a little bit more granularity to understand what people were calling for. The nice part with the phone system we have is like, let's say we had a major water line break. We can actually change the front end message. So when you call in, it'll say, are you calling about low water pressure? Are you calling about this big issue, whatever it is? If so, please press 1 or whatever. And then it will give more information. It's been really handy for some of that interactive. So we're not just getting inundated by calls if it's just something really simple.
So I have a quick question, if you could go back. So human resources on our website is like one of the top 3rd visited pages. Why would that be? The only thing on our human resources website is job searching, but yet
Jobs,
so low.
MOUs, job classifications.
Yeah.
All that is on
So you
there.
think other agencies
Sure,
are sourcing it?
Other agencies are
Yeah.
looking, and then you
Sure.
just got people looking. Like,
Okay.
well, what does the city of Ingles have? Or what does a water treatment person do? What does a police officer do? So all of that information is there, and all of our salary information is on there.
Okay, all right, that's.
So, I when we were looking at potentially going with iWork, one of the first calls that I had was with this company called Text My Gov. And I said, I'm really not ready to go that direction yet. We want to we got to get our website up and running. We got social media. I'm going to do we're going to figure out what system we want to go with. So this is the next possible step that we can make. So about 50% of everyone that goes to our website or goes to our social media site is on their mobile. And 50% are on their computers. So if you use that, then 50% of the people that want to talk to us or engage with us or need information from us, they're on their cell phone. And so what Text My Gov does is you could be on your phone and you could say, oh, I just saw a water leak. And you can just text water leak to our Text My Gov account, which you would have on your phone. And it will allow you to enter the information, and then it goes straight to our work order system and opens the work order. You could say, hey, I need to pay my bill, and it will generate the link for you to just go straight from your phone. You're not having to go to our website. You're not having to call the city. And the other part is if we can work through this enough and get people's cell phone information and their physical property address. If there was an issue, we actually can reverse it and then text out that there's a water main break in your neighborhood, or we're going to be doing road construction, on Tuesday, or whatever it is. So it's integrated with iWork, code compliance and work order system. It would allow customers to text, pay my bill, and be routed to our online bill pay systems. And it allows kind of an easier way. Sometimes I'll say, I'll hear people say, well, I don't have a computer. They have a phone. So it's another way for engagement. So it's something that we're kind of looking at. It just wasn't something we wanted to look at until we kind of got everything else under our belt.
So are we assigning staff to monitor this, or who monitors all of this?
Now it goes in and it goes, and so the staff are already monitoring the work order system. So that's all they have to monitor is the work order system, because it just goes to the work order system.
Instead of fielding a call, you
Instead of fielding a call.
would come through.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the beauty of it. No one has to monitor it because it goes to the system that we already use.
And I like the idea of pushing out news or emergencies. That's typicically what's happening now. I mean, we live in that younger generation of tech world.
I think that being able to text out is amazing.
Text
The only part,
I don't know
the
about
only-
texting in though.
Well, the only hard part that
You
we
would have
ran
to
in,
opt in for that.
right, hard part is you don't, at least from what we ran it, we kind of ran a little sample thing, was you don't get enough information. So you still have to call back. My TV's not working. Well, why is your TV not working? You know what I mean? So that's the only thing we ran into, but there's a lot of good to this.
Then I've been on those where I'm in the loop.
Yeah.
So really,
That's not what I said.
So part of this is utilizing, basically doing staff interviews to say, okay, like for multiple things, what is the common call? What are the common call types that we're getting beyond building planning code? Like, what is that? There's always a common theme, right? So there's 5 tops, and then there's the more comprehensive ones that you're gonna have to talk to someone for. And so some of those things we can hone in better on our actual phone system. Some of them will help us work better with this in order to identify a pathway.
Is this an all or nothing, or could we say, hey, we really like the ability to text out messages to citizens and do that?
Yeah, you could do that.
I mean, because that would help, I think, tremendously with communication and updates and things like that. And would that fall on a staff member's responsibility, or you to do that then? That message, or how?
Yeah, but I mean, that's no different than when we push information out on Facebook.
It's just another source.
It's just another source. Yeah.
Yeah, the buildings.
And sometimes it's easier for us to do that than field the 50 calls that are coming in. I mean, you can kind of gauge that something's risen up. And so we can kind of get ahead of it by pushing information out.
And as old as I am, I appreciate when PG&E, I get a text from PG&E saying there's a power outage or this is out. I mean, I don't say, oh, heck with that. It's a form of communication that's what we do nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more of a sign of the times.
And I would say if the data was showing me that like 10% are using their phones,
Right.
then I would say, I don't think we're really there yet, but we are finding more and more people actually just have a phone and they might not have a computer, but they have a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's regardless of age. So it's just
It's another way.
That's the last one. That was it. So I just wanted to kind of give you, all the work that we've done, in a pretty short period of time, trying to get all that up and running, but it's done really, really well. And, other agencies are paying attention. And so, I've gotten calls, who did your website? How did you set this up? We would like to copy this or, which is great. So we're doing something right.
Yeah, it's been noticed. I think four short years ago, it was questionable about our website and how we could even benefit from, or even the Facebook account, like who's running it and what are we doing? It was not as well sculpted as it is now. So thank you for that. I do appreciate that.
And all very cost effective. So like Constant Contact, we pay $924 a year annually. We use a software called Canva, and that just helps make things look more professional. It's great with graphic design. It's $149 a year, and everyone is using it. The police department is using it. We're using it. Building department is using it. So it's really, really nice. It puts out very high quality professional designs. So
What will be the charge of Text My Gov?
that, it looks like it'll be about $4,500 a year. So it's not overly
It's not in addition,
expensive.
I mean,
It would be in addition to this. But it's it's an additional cost, but I think it's important that we're trying to get as much information out there as we can.
And so it's not a one-time, it's an annual
That's an
fee?
annual.
And so what are they monitoring for that $4,500?
It's the licensing.
is that something you're
It's the
considering at budget
licensing
time?
and, yes, it's the licensing and the texting. So I think we get like 50,000 texts per year, and then whatever we don't use, we can roll it.
Because I think they store the numbers, they push it out. You would say there's a water line break in Countryland Estates, and then push it to those.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
They're the middleman.
Works within a geographical, or is it, sometimes if you're in the zone of something, yes.
I've been on vacation before and
Yeah,
gotten
you
a
get the
text.
alert
Right,
there.
yeah, hurricane warning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just,
right.
it knows where you're at.
So it's not zone related, but we can populate like address with a cell phone, and it will know on a map where it's at. So if we had a water line break, or we're having construction, and we're gonna have traffic control on the road, we would be able to, or a boil water notice, we would be
Yeah.
able to draw that perimeter, it would grab everybody that's in there.
All right.
Awesome work, good job.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
All right, do we have any public comment on this item?
Nothing other than thank you.
That was nice, thank you.
Seems
Anybody
like-
online?
It seems like a lot of work was put into it, and it looks like it's paying off, so thank you.
I second that.
Online. Nobody's got them. Okay. All right, moving on to item 9D. This is discussion and direction on speed tables on city roads. So Rebecca is going to speak to this, but I do want to speak to this real quick. So in an effort to be fully transparent, this item was discussed and brought up by Councilmember Chimente a handful of meetings ago. He had thrown out the idea, he heard from some people that there is a desire or a need on Gardner Lane for speed bumps. And I am a county employee, and I have a capital improvement project that I'm working on. I've done speed bumps through the county before. So what I did is I in fact reached out to Rebecca because I'm working on a project right now countywide for some speed tables or speed cushions, and they're called different things. So I was offering some information and some literature to her, and she said to me, well, what if the county and the city could partner and we could do this together? So it's been kind of a project of mine to chase that down, and there might be some leverage there, which is what Rebecca's going to say. So I will be pretty much recusing myself from this, other than just answering questions that I would need to answer. But this is your guys' decision. I won't be voting on it inevitably because I have involvement on the other side. So for full transparency, I'll not vote on this, but Rebecca can speak to it now.
I learned, more than I've ever wanted to know about speed tables, humps, bumps, traffic, calming methods. But in the course of all this, what I also discovered is the city does have no standards for how to even handle this, or what to do, or where they should be, or where they shouldn't be, or anything. So one of the first things they did was reached out to our engineer to say, can you assist us? Because regardless of what gets decided today, if you look forward, this is the more traffic you have, and then the more this conversation is gonna come up. So it would be advantageous for us to have standards and a process in order to meet that need. I also brought this up in our department head meeting, and our chief of police said, you know, I recall seeing something at some other jurisdictions on this subject, so he, you know, sent that information to me. So kind of stole that, and that's in this packet as well. But in any case, you know, in talking to our engineer, preliminary estimates suggest that the cost of those, one, not like a whole project, is six to 8,000. The cost that the county is doing, which is through the job program, which is the job order contractor. So what the state of California does is they put out like a RFP, right, for on-call services, and they're specific to construction. So if you go to their website and you look at all of the job options, it's all these different types of construction projects on road, but it could be striping, it could be, you know, whatever. So the deal with the job program is then we don't have to procure it because they've already done it.
And they've already did it.
And they already did it competitively.
Yeah.
And so it saves us the time on that.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of a premium to that. So we would pay more for the cost, but we don't have to go out and actually do the procurement of it. In our case, there is no federal funding. If we were gonna fund this, we would look at having this be part of our our pavement management system and budget. And we would use probably like gas tax for it, or we could look at, you know, SB1 funds. And so the thing that we're kind of missing at this point is I don't have engineering involved in terms of where they should or shouldn't go. We do know, just based on the complaints, Gardner Lane is one of the probably top roads that would be identified. Jen was kind enough to send me some pictures of kind of what these, you know, what the project would cover. So it's the signage of before you get to the bump or the hump or the table.
And clarification on signage, that's rather than a street sign, the option is to have the signage as a thermo legend saying speed bump ahead as an advanced thermo, legend on the pavement. And the reason for that is because it's been proven that thermoplastic striping and lineage on the ground is more visible for people than a street sign. If a car's parked there, you're not seeing it. So there's better visibility, especially to not hammer down on one of those.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so this is kind of what it looks like on the ground. So the thermal is kind of like the bump there, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what they look like. So, you know, part of this and kind of what, you know, the chief had sent me is we can all have great ideas, but I don't live in that neighborhood. You know, Jen lives in the neighborhood. I don't live in the neighborhood. And so you could have 20 neighbors that don't want it, and you could have 21 that do. And so what I think we've all recognized that, you know, outreach and community involvement in terms of making decisions of what projects are going to happen is beneficial. So, you know, one of the policies that we found is it was a neighborhood traffic management policy because what that does is it ensures that those particular neighborhoods where you would be putting these projects are on the same page. No matter what, if we put one in, someone's gonna complain that it's there. If we don't put it in, someone's gonna complain that we didn't put it in. So, it is, something I'm just asking you to consider. If you don't want to, that's fine too. I would also like to, get direction to get construction standards and speed control measures from our city engineers' recommendations and bring those back to council to be part of our standards. And then, if you want us to, work with the county, then, authorizing us to work through Calaveras County contract. And we would embed this in the 24-25 budget. I don't know how many, I don't know if it would be 3 on Gardner or if it would be 2 on Gardner. We know that the cost of them will be somewhere around the 11,500 something per, bump.
Including all the striping.
Including all the striping and the thermal, imaging on the ground. But that's what we got. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. Thank you. I believe we need to move forward and use Gardner Lane as a pilot, and continue working with the county. And I appreciate the county and Jennifer's help. I'm concerned that summer's coming about, and when you look at other roads, I think we need to look at roads that connect between two. Gardner Lane connects between Murphy's Grade and Dogtown. I think people who live in a subdivision tend to always travel in a subdivision, and there might be some but people are aware that there's children. I worry about connected roads. I worry about school's gonna be out. I appreciate the fact that we need to move forward and do a traffic study and look at other areas. But I think we've, just as we were responsive to those folks who came to us regarding chickens, I think we've had enough people talk to us about Gardner Lane that we could look at and see if it's a pilot program. And I understand this may not set well with some people, but for me, having a student or a child hit on that road doesn't sit well with me at all. So that would be, that's my 2 cents.
Working the way around.
I agree with what Mike said. The only thing that I have thoughts on is I want to say there was a traffic study done a few years ago in the town, and I'm going to throw out this from the Wayback Machine. I think Dogtown Road, like the speed study actually showed that the speed should increase on that, if I remember right. So does that conflict with us? And because I just saw Dogtown on there, does that then conflict with us throwing a speed bump on there? Somebody can come and say, well, the speed study actually, or the speed table, whatever it's called, the bump. The study showed that my speed increased on this road, not slowed down. So is there conflicting information or conflicting things we're trying to do?
Well, and I think that's where the benefit of having the engineer actually come up with standards, because then, the standard may be just best practice in the engineering world. We should not do a speed bump if the speed limit is greater than
35, yeah. That's what it is.
Right, and that's
whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, but that would be memorialized in our standards so that 15 years from now, when someone wants to put a speed bump on YZ Road, it doesn't fall within the standards.
That's all I'm with Mike.
Yeah. I think you both hit on some really good topics, and I do think that considering we've all heard about Gardner Lane multiple times, we do need to do something about it. And I appreciate the work that you've done in terms of being able to piggyback off the county while they're doing it as well.
Okay, let's go for public comment.
The engineer will look at different speed bumps, because I didn't know until I went to Columbia College. There's actually lower ones, but they slow you down instead of the ones that it doesn't matter. I mean, you almost have to stop ahead of them without really bouncing your car. So is that a thing that they look at then too? When they did?
Yeah, there's actually 3 designs. There's a speed table that is much larger, and they ramp up, then they flatten off, and then they ramp down.
Wow.
The county's doing some of those in other areas. And then there's a speed bump, which is what you see typically in a parking lot, like a private parking lot, and those are not advisable. That's what was on Gardner Lane years ago in the early 90s, late 80s, and people would just drive around it. And then these are what they're calling is a speed cushion, which is a softer,
That must be
not
what's
as
at Columbia
big.
College then.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but they're not nearly as large, and these are more of the design that is consistent. And I can just speak real quick to the timeline. If this council was to move forward with a pilot of this program on Gardner Lane with a handful of these speed cushions, the timeline would likely be June construction. So I requested nothing in May because of fair, but the contractor is ready to go. Of course, the county would need to agree to the execution of a reimbursement agreement. We'd have to work the technicalities out, get on a meeting. I mean, it would probably be July, I guess, by the time I have to get to the board. So I think that that's advantageous. You're doing your summer work, you're taking advantage of construction over this season, school's out, and something's happening. So it would happen fast, and then possibly use that as a pilot while your engineers looking at all the other roads, the speed limits on the other roads. I think everybody agrees that Gardner is your best solution right there. Stockton Road, people tend to drive fast out by the cemetery. Like it's a little racetrack. I think that might be something to look at. And whether it's at Dogtown or coming in on the grade road before people come in and don't slow down yet before they get to that first crosswalk at the baseball field. But you can't slow them down with a speed bump. They need to slow down with advanced signage. So that's all I'll speak to. But oh yeah, let's hear from Chief.
Can't slow them down with speed bump. Yeah,
So-
let them know
Before they launch.
So I like the term that Councilmember Schmidt used, pilot program, because we don't, I know we're talking about other roads and stuff, but you have a couple issues when you start talking about other roads. Not only does it slow down traffic, it also diverts traffic. So people will not use those roads because there are speed bumps on them, which could potentially cause other issues. The other thing which I experienced, larger city, Turlock, there was a Tuolumne Road in Turlock. It was a very long road, but it's kind of the same thing where you've got high traffic roadways on either end of it. Well, law enforcement and fire quit using that because there was another parallel street that they could use. They quit driving down that road because nobody wanted to deal with the speed. That's just human nature, I think, more than anything else. So I think more than anything else, just those considerations to be taken. Gardner, I think, is the perfect, pilot location, but I would be very cautious when you start talking about Stockton Road and places like that, because those are not the same thing. You're not dealing with high traffic, pedestrian traffic, children. You do have the spot from Monte Verde up to 49 or whatever that you've got some houses in there, but down towards the cemetery, you've got no houses, you've got some pedestrian traffic, you've got kids that are walking home from school, and stuff, but just be mindful of the impact of those additional factors. And I think pilot program would be, if we're gonna move forward with Gardner, that you do it, you watch it, you see what happens, you see what complaints are generated, you see what happens with traffic and that kind of stuff. Fire trucks do not like speed humps, speed tables, especially because they're such a big unit. Police cars, if we're in a hurry to get somewhere, is the other thing, is it's going to slow us down quite a bit. One location, I think, is not impactful, but if we start talking about multiple streets within the city our size, I think that's definitely a more significant conversation, because then you start impacting a lot more. And these speed tables are, what do you think, Jen? Like probably three feet wide or whatever. So they're not a speed bump. They're not bad. You do definitely have to slow down, otherwise you're gonna bottom out on the front end when you come out the other side. But anyway, just some considerations to keep in mind.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
And then it's just, it's the funding. So, we know that we have some gas tax that we could use, but I would say, part of the conversation is, we want to start with Gardner, then we need to contemplate, it's gonna be prioritization, right?
Right.
And so if we've got road pavement management that will happen with potholes and crack sealing and microsurfacing and restriping, it's all gonna come out of the same pot money.
Yep.
So. Yep. So based on that timeline, I'm thinking we would need to do a budget amendment this year, right?
No, July.
You think July?
July 1. Yeah.
We'll do a lot of outreach in that neighborhood too and all that.
Yeah, I definitely think.
Great.
I definitely think the outreach in that neighborhood is going to be well received. I don't. I've said it out loud. I think the one complaint that you might sometimes get about speed bumps, speed tables is noise. People hear the noise. There's the type that bolt down. They're like bolt-ons, and they're temporary, and those rattle. So those are like a noise that people don't like. And then sometimes you'll have people that just don't like hearing the car or a truck if it's got loose stuff in the back. They hear the stuff rattling in the back, or a trailer and the noise of the truck and the trailer. But the alternative is you hear people driving gears and going. So.
Yep. Okay. And then any thoughts on the traffic management policy? Just if so the other part is you're gonna start with Gardner, and then everybody in every other neighborhood is gonna say, I want that. So you'll see it happen in Angel Oaks, you'll see it happen in Greenwood Creek. So do we want a way for them to get in contact with us, so that we can have?
I think a policy is important. I think we need to work with Scott. Again, I think we need to look at each situation in an individual manner. I come back to that Gardner connects two roads. It's not in the middle of a subdivision, and if it is, maybe we need to look at that. But I think, again, and we need to see how viable this pilot is, and did it work, and is it doing what we want it to do? But I don't have any issue with developing a policy about how we implement and why we implement.
Okay.
One thing I just recalled something that I was reading when I was looking over this stuff is, I think Modesto discontinued their speed table, speed bump. They stopped doing it. I don't know why, but it would probably be worth somebody reaching out to their engineering department maybe to find out why they stopped. Like, what was the purpose of them not doing this anymore? I think it was Modesto. I'd have to go back and look again, but I was reading one of they had a pamphlet booklet or whatever that had all the rules and regs on it. And at the end of it basically said, this part of the traffic calming plan, we're not doing it. We're no longer installing speed bumps in any residential neighborhoods or anywhere, so.
The interesting thing about Modesto is it feels like every road you're on, people are going 45 and 50 miles an hour too. So I'm not sure, if they had speed bumps, I'm not even sure where they would,
Yeah. And they can be a hazard too, because somebody not being familiar with the road decide they're gonna go hauling down the road, right? Because they're just going down a straight road and all of a sudden they hit a speed bump and they go to airport.
Right.
So.
I think it's worth looking at.
That's where the speed limit comes in.
Yeah.
You good?
Yep.
So with that, we don't need a motion. We're just, we
It was just
given
direction.
direction, and so hopefully we're
We're
gonna
gonna look into it. Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item 9E. This is discussion and approval of resolution 2439, authorizing the city administrator to execute agreements for the demolition and grading of city property located at 060-006-099, which is the old Napa building, and 060010045, which is the parking area downtown. And then approving a budget amendment in the amount of $46,500 from general fund unrestricted fund balance. Rebecca.
Okay, so when we bought the old Napa property, that was one of the main questions. What do we do now with the building? And then when we were gonna purchase the property downtown, what do we do with the concrete slab and the grading? So, staff were directed to search for some quotes. They contacted everyone that they could think of who would do demo. We got one response back, and that is through SUM. So the cost for Napa obviously is the most expensive because that's actually demoing an existing building. I did make note that the cost could potentially go up if asbestos is identified. And so we don't know for sure, yes or no. But regardless, it needs to come down. And then the downtown property that we closed on would cost $4,500. So we're trying to be we're trying to recycle. So the concrete that would come out of downtown or any of the concrete that would come off the Napa building, we're working with the geotechnical and Moyer Construction. If we can use that to partially fill the
Plug?
shuts.
Yeah.
And then seal it with concrete. That's a good idea.
So we're working on that. So it just means that might help us on the cost on Utica Park. And then the concrete pieces and all of that, ultimately, we would have just taken out to the spray fields and let.
So the issue with the asbestos is really the issue of it's got to be transported to a different facility,
Yeah.
right?
And then if you've exposed asbestos, you have to cover it up promptly.
Right, I mean, so I'm sure that Brad has done, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have hoses out there and water trucks and not create dust and make sure everything is watered and so, and we're not, it was a dairy originally and then it was Napa. Yeah, so it's not gonna, our sense is that we're not gonna be digging or anything, right? So we don't care about, and I don't know if there'd be a lot of fluids, okay. And do we own the lot next door to the Napa?
Yep.
Okay, and then have the owners of the future parking lot been notified that they can't park there any longer?
They've all been notified. So Amy is still there. So she went down and the vehicles are like growing.
Yeah, they are, huh?
Yeah.
They're reproducing.
One, now three trailers.
It's like they heard, and so they all moved everything onto that property. So, so basically she has put flyers on everybody's vehicles downtown. She has notified all the property owners that would answer their door. Most everybody has been very excited for it to get cleaned up. So I guess the good news is if we can't make eye contact, if we can't make eye contact or any contact with the vehicle owners that are down there that are just parked, then technically they're abandoned on public property.
Right.
So we could utilize AVA. So we have made those contacts through code compliance to get them off because some of those vehicles they're just abandoned.
And then, does the price include putting some road base down and rolling the road base?
The price includes grading.
Grading, but no
So,
road base.
Not yet. So we wanted to get through the demo and then we would also be looking at some fencing, but we can't fence it until we get the vehicles off the property, but yeah.
And then I remember Amy mentioning that there was a access road, Amy, at that end or something that goes out?
The property actually connects
But it's the poverty.
So it's
So
not,
you would need to do steps to the trail. So
okay, so it's not gonna be another way in and out of that.
No, but adjacent to Napa will be another way in and out.
Right,
of the
okay.
park. Yeah.
Okay. And when you talk about that becoming a two-story parking, I'm envisioning, are we gonna construct a building or is it just the way it's layered? We're going to, I don't,
That's the vision. It's really low down on
okay,
Utica Park side.
Okay.
It's high up on the
Right.
side with Napa. So you could take advantage of that and people could come around on the Utica Park side, the Utica lane side, park underneath, come off of Main Street, park on the top.
so we're like doing a retaining wall and that kind of stuff then?
Oh, sorry, talking about the wrong one.
Napa, I'm talking about Napa.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna do.
Well, and
now.
then
For
next
now.
to Napa, we're gonna have a roadway that comes in,
Okay,
Cause we'll close.
grade that down.
oh, okay,
So that
okay,
we don't just have sand.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
It's a narrow.
How about we do like in Sonora, the brick parking lot across from the firehouse?
yeah,
Like ivy growing up the front,
yeah.
EV parking inside.
I would go with
What?
So I do.
No, I don't know, I'm just throwing.
Do the prices, do they include hauling off the material after the demo?
Yes.
And so it would be taken to the mine or it would be
It would
taken
be
out to
taken
the
to the
spray
mine or
fields?
it'd be taken
the
out to
spray
the spray
fields.
Okay.
fields or if it's
Nice and
asbestos,
cleaned
they're
up,
taken-
what's
yeah,
left,
yeah.
okay, and then
So we
as
will
graded
have-
as possible.
We'll have grading, and it will be just cleaned off. So that's step one. And then we're continuing to look for, funding opportunities,
To rebuild.
hedging, EV charging or, economic development grants or any type of grant that we can find in order to start, looking at ways to improve those properties more than what we can.
And when do we anticipate construction to begin? Once we
There
pass?
is no construction.
I meant demolition, I meant
Oh,
demolition.
demo?
Yeah, when will
You approved this and I signed the paperwork that's sitting on my desk and then Brad puts it on the schedule. Or Aaron, I guess.
I would just say not during fair.
No.
Not during May.
No, right, we're gonna start it right on that, Thursday.
Yeah.
That's the parade.
Yeah, probably not, no.
So I'm all for this, I think it's great. My only thing is the no road base thing or no rock now.
I just don't
There's
have the
always-
cost for that, so
Cause there's already equipment there, the backhoe's already there, the trucks are already there.
we figured that's gonna be pretty nominal. And
It is in the
so,
scheme, yeah,
in the scheme of things, that'll be pretty small.
cause we're pulling this out of general, we're pulling this out of general fund, cause we got 4 million, 1.8 million to reserves, leaving 2.2, so if it was another $10,000, I'd say.
Yeah, so that part I wasn't worried about, it's just for the bulk of it,
Right.
those two for Sutton.
That's fine, and the park's not open yet anyways, and so, okay.
So Chris and I
just-
kind of talked about the road base or anything like that, and we can cover that.
Yeah.
And not rely on Seth to do it as part of his,
We could, we just.
is that kind of what you're saying?
No, I was thinking that there's the truck and the equipment, all of it's
So
there.
add it to
They
it.
could haul in, like downtown, they could
Keep it
haul in
rolling,
4
yeah.
loads of road base and roll it compacted, because they're gonna have that there.
Yeah.
So I would be willing to
Add a little to it.
add a little to it, if not to exceed or something,
negotiate
I don't
that.
know, or negotiate that out. That would be my only, and then at least downtown would be, maybe not Napa this time, but downtown would be done and have parking
Pretty fast.
pretty fast.
I'll
So.
have Chris talk to Sutton.
Okay.
When he talked to me, he just figured that is like the most nominal part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So that was just mine.
Did we have public comment on this?
No.
Did you have anything you had to say about? Okay, no public comment then. I'm just concerned about asbestos and you just don't know until you get in there. There's no advanced testing we can do. We just gotta kind of go for it. Keep it
You know,
wet.
it's gonna be, my sense is,
It's an old.
it's gonna be in the sheet rock.
Right.
You know, you could find it maybe in the glazing of and if they have any VCT tile down.
Yeah.
You know.
Based on the age of the building, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, I don't think, I don't think it's gonna be in the concrete or that, you know, but.
Okay.
It's all good.
All right, so anybody want to make a motion and maybe even take into consideration a little bit extra for the,
I'll make a motion to approve this and to approve road base for downtown at this moment. Does that work?
Yeah.
Because that will get that one done, and there is parking needs down there today, in my opinion.
Yep.
So.
okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second it. Do we need a not to exceed?
I don't know. I don't know how much it's gonna.
Yeah, I would just,
Not to exceed 10.
Not to exceed 10.
Yeah.
I would just, yeah.
Yeah, not to exceed
All
next
that rock
$10,000.
up on top,
How's
you
that?
just haul that rock down?
I'll amend my first one to not to exceed. So downtown only, not to exceed an extra 10,000.
And I will second that.
Okay. All right, Michelle.
Okay. Councilmember Schmidt.
Aye.
Councilmember Romeo.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Moncada. Aye. And Mayor Herman.
Aye. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so we are moving on with my computer, so efficiently.
Scrolling.
I'm scrolling, is everybody else scrolling?
I am, I'm on that.
Yeah, we're all
Okay,
scrolling.
so now we're on to G. Correct? Because we already did F. So now we're on 9G. This is adopt resolution 2441, requesting the Board of Supervisors of Calaveras County to consolidate the City of Angels election with the election to be held on November 5th, 2024. Rebecca, Rebecca and Michelle. We're gonna have Michelle report on this.
Oh, okay. Oh, I can. It doesn't matter. Either way. So basically, City Council has 3 members whose terms are expiring on January 6th, 2025. And so those seats, Mayor Herndon, Caroline Sherrato, and Michael Shinty. Anytime there's an election, we pass a resolution requesting the elections office of the county to consolidate the election, so that we wouldn't have to conduct our own election. So that's all this is doing. So it would be resolution 2441 requesting the county board of supervisors to consolidate the city's election within the election to be held November 5th, 2024. And then we would reimburse the county elections department for any actual costs. And so we don't really know what those costs are because it depends on what else is going to be on that November ballot, and then they split the costs across everybody that's going to be on.
Okay. Questions, comments? Do we have a budget item for that? Did we foresee that this was an election year? I don't remember if we did.
This would be paid in the next budget, so I actually did add a dollar amount. I can't remember what it was, and I have no idea what it should be.
You can base
Isn't it
off
like $4,000 or $5,000?
Yeah, I think we put like 6,000.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because it could be split by somebody else.
Depends on how
Well,
many.
yeah, but it's every school district.
Yeah, it's anyone who's gonna be
You
on
know,
the.
fire districts, I mean, so water districts,
Yeah.
So I did put like a little place marker for elections for the 24th.
Public comment on this item? Bringing it back, looking for a motion for this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2441.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
Second.
Councilmember Schmidt.
Aye.
Councilmember Romeo.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moncada. Aye. Mayor Herman.
Aye. Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to 9H, this is Habitat for Humanity Standard Agreement in lieu of bonding for Eureka Oaks and authorizing the city administrator to execute any necessary agreements. For a motion and action.
So basically in the Eureka Oaks development, there was a condition for the infrastructure projects that would be for the water, sewer infrastructure, dirt down infrastructure that they're putting in, that they would need to bond that project. So we met with the contractor, which Hugh is on the phone here, and Morgan Gashi is also on the phone, the executive director, to talk about this. And their concern is, this is a little bit different than a commercial development. And so yes, they could take part of their funding their grant funding that they're getting, and then they could bond the project, but that is then money that doesn't go into the affordability component of this. So we were looking for other options that they could use as opposed to paying money out for a bond that they're not going to get back. So in talking with legal counsel, they said, well, you could do like a letter of credit. And so, a normal letter of credit would be you go to your bank and they say, yes, you have credit. In this case, again, it's not a normal commercial development. And so what they actually have is a standard agreement through Cal Homes, which is guaranteeing the funding for the infrastructure project. So, what I would like to do is work with legal counsel to memorialize utilization of the standard agreement as basically the letter of credit that supports the project, as opposed to requiring them to go out to a bond or having to go to the bank. And the reason is also because they're trying to identify banks that would help do the lending on the actual physical home construction. And so you also don't want to overextend yourself on letters of credit when you're also trying to find lending for the actual construction of the homes. So they just got the standard agreement, but again, this is just one of those scenarios. It's not a normal commercial development, and unlike a commercial development, they are a little out there, right? So you would want them bonded, because if they run out of money in the middle of the construction, then we're left holding the bag. So that's the whole point of the whole bonding.
Right.
In this case, that grant, and Morgan, that's the $10 million grant, correct?
It is, yes.
Okay, so it's that $10 million standard agreement that is saying, you're gonna get this $10 million, and it is specifically for that infrastructure.
Right.
So that's the guarantee.
And legal says it's good.
Legal said letter of credit. And so what I want to do is work with legal to go through the standard agreement, because we didn't have the standard agreement when we were having these initial conversations with legal. It came in afterwards. So what I'm asking you is to give me authorization to work with legal in order to see about how we could utilize that standard agreement as the basis of the letter of credit.
And there'd be no financial, the way you're gonna draft this letter is that, if someone defaults, then we would use this $10 million that they're gonna get to offset that, or?
Well, they can't spend the money on anything other than the infrastructure project.
Okay,
They can't do anything with it other than the infrastructure project.
and so I'm assuming that every other contractor or subcontractor that's gonna work on this project is also gonna put a bond up.
Their bond.
Their bond.
Their bond themselves.
Okay. I support this, I just want us to make sure we have an airtight agreement so that the city isn't left holding the bag.
Right, so that's why, I wanna make sure that, we get something in writing to memorialize, that this concept that we came up with, in fact, works for what we needed to.
Is this pretty typical for Habitat for Humanities to do?
I don't know, well, they generally will do a house.
Right,
Not
this is
a
their
whole
first
development.
development.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I'm on the fence on this one. And as much as I want to embrace and try to work with the Habitat project, I do not want the liability or the risk to be part of the city. The conditions of the project were put into place when this was adopted, and bonding was part of the recommendation of the infrastructure phase. And that's the language I speak. I mean, bonds are how I work. Letters of credit are volatile. Letters of credit are not a guarantee. And I don't know that does its part for us. I'm not saying that I don't want to say that you could still explore some options with legal, but if it had to be voted on right now as no bond, I don't think I could move forward with that at this time.
Well, Jen, so I think you would have a better level of comfort after
Yeah.
it's vetted by our office.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it's something to explore, but
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's, I think letters of credit as much as, and I don't know, maybe, last I had heard from Habitat is you guys have an award of the $10 million, but of course you haven't seen the money yet, right? So the same concept could go with this letter of credit. We have a piece of paper that's a letter of credit that's securing the completion of this phase, but banks go belly up, things happen, letters are letters, it's, huh?
I said things can happen.
Yeah, things can happen that are unforeseen and out of all of our control, and I do not want that to land back onto the city. We would need to get the project completed. I hate the idea of driving through and having an incomplete project, but that's where I'm at today. So I'll let somebody else talk.
No, I believe that most developers don't go after grants for the most part. I'm all for digging into this further and seeing if we can get something to work out. So is Cal Homes there? How does the Cal Homes fit there? Because it says in this agreement between Habitat for Humanity and Cal Homes for the infrastructure funding of the development. So
The granting agency.
it's the granting agency. I don't know. I'm forward looking into it because I mean, is the grant the bond that it's guaranteed? I mean, could we be a second on? Is there such thing as a second on the grant? I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of all sorts of weird things. Like if Habitat for Humanity were to walk away, that grant money, I'd assume they wouldn't spend it all. I don't know. I'm just trying to think, but I'm all for looking into it.
Yeah, so is there a way that?
So we have Hugh with his hand up. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say with the two sort of options that are up there, I don't see that as the standard agreement. Is it possible to kick this back so then we can see what that standard agreement's gonna look like? As opposed to just making a decision right now?
All I'm asking
He's just
for
asking to look
is,
into it.
Look into it.
Okay.
Which
can
makes-
you look into, like, because the condition was a bond, period.
Right.
And then the conversation was, is there anything else we could do besides the bond? Legal said you could technically do a letter of credit. And at the time, they didn't have the standard agreement from Cal Home. So subsequent to that conversation, and after this had already gone out, now they have the standard agreement. So I sent that to legal, asking, is it possible to use this basically as the backing for the project? And I don't, they need to look at that to determine if they can. And then we would, if that works, then we would memorialize that with, that would basically take the place as the letter
As
of
the
credit.
bond. So something else that bonds protect are all of the subcontractors that are hired with the development. Would a standard agreement and or a letter of credit, would that also serve that same purpose to assure that those people are?
That's what I don't know in the
Okay.
standard agreement, which is an agreement between Habitat for Humanity and Cal Homes.
Right. Where are we in?
We're not.
We're not.
Yeah.
But where the contractors fit in.
And I don't know where the contractors would fit in terms of that standard agreement.
Like,
Yeah.
So I
Those
think
are all
we just
questions.
need to analyze the standard agreement and come back with information.
But the whole point.
So we have Hugh with his hand up
Yes.
and he might be able to shed some light. So, Hugh, why don't you go ahead and we'll open public comment at this time.
Hi, good evening, City Council and Mayor. So I might be speaking out of turn a little bit, and Morgan could add in if she wants, but so the Cal Home grant is guaranteed $10 million that they get for the infrastructure portion. To get all the improvements through, getting ready to pull building permits to start vertical. The subcontractors that would be working on the job are going to be hired and have a contract with me. And then my company will be getting paid by Habitat for Humanity. As Cal Home will, the money goes from them to Habitat, and then Habitat pays me, and then I pay all the subs, and I get unconditional lien releases that everyone's been paid. And we have to, every 90 days, we have to reconcile the money that has been spent with Calhoun, so that we're showing that the money that they have received has been spent on the subcontractors putting the infrastructure in, doing the infrastructure portion of the work. So it's pretty, there's a lot of paperwork to go through. There's a lot of eyes on the numbers and where the money's going, so it can't be diverted. They're very specific about where the money can go. And it's to get the infrastructure in the ground, which is what's going to allow them to get funding with the Bank of Stockton to go to do vertical construction afterwards. So I don't know if that helps. Oh, the other part is I'm a market rate developer by trade, and I've done 30 plus subdivisions. To get a bond, a regular surety bond, the bonding companies would be asking for their balance sheet, they'd be asking for all types of financials, they'd be asking for a guarantor from Habitat. They don't have those deep pockets to guarantee $9.5 million of infrastructure, which is what this is gonna cost to go in. We have everything's ready to go on the project. All the subs are identified. We just have to write contracts and get ready to move. But a big part of it is the ordinance says that we need to have a bond in place. They need to have a bond in place prior to starting. And they wouldn't be able to go to a standard surety bonding company because they don't have the balance sheet and the financials within the company of Habitat be able to do that. I have no idea. There's other sources, but this one was the one that came up as the means of being able to hopefully expedite this, because we're hoping to break ground by the middle to end of June. Because the main agreement, the standard agreement now is been flushed out. It's been signed by both parties, and they're very close. There's a couple more things that have to be ironed out, but those are all being worked out. I was up there today having meetings with them. So it's a project that's just about ready to move, and this is just one of the final pieces that has to get resolved. That's it. Sorry.
So I have a hypothetical question, and I don't mean to insult anybody, but hypothetically, if the project, the infrastructure phase exceeded $10 million, what would happen? I mean, in a traditional project, there would be, another loan or another funding source or whatever. That would be where a bond would assure that the project's gonna get completed and that the subs all get paid. So what would happen in that type of scenario, Hugh?
Well, and that's not actually necessary either, because normally when you do a bond, they will ask for the engineer's opinion of probable cost, and they go off of that when they're setting up the bond. I can tell you from experience that those are generally lower than what the actual costs are. This is in standard construction. In this case, I have bids from every subcontractor for every single trade, for every aspect of the work, from the landscaping to the PG&E to all of the dirt moving to the wet and dry utilities, everything. And we also have about a $500,000 contingency in there. And all of that comes to about $9.7 million, I think it is, or $9.6 million, something close to that. So then there's a little bit of money on top of that, which Habitat's allowed to use for soft costs that were from the time that they got their standard agreement awarded on November 3rd, whatever costs that they've had for engineering and landscape architecture and different things like that, they're allowed to use that to pay, reimburse themselves for that. So I feel very comfortable and confident that it's not gonna go over that dollar amount.
Hugh's bonded, every other sub underneath, because he's the general.
He's the
Every
general.
other sub underneath him is bonded. So it's just a habitat for, yeah. Okay. Yeah, look into it.
Any other comments or questions from council? You still have your hand up, Hugh, or you just,
No, Morgan.
oh, Morgan.
Sorry, how do I lower that?
Oh, I don't know.
You're good, leave it up.
Click it again. Bye. Morgan, did you have anything to add to our conversation?
You know, honestly, Hugh can much more eloquently answer in construction terminology, but I can say, you know, the agreement is now executed and we are very close. And this, like he said, is just one more piece. And being a nonprofit developer has definitely brought its challenges because it's a learning curve education for all of us. And we just have to look at this as every piece that we don't have to pay for outside. It goes back to the affordability of the houses for our future homeowners. So that's what we're looking for here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, thank you much, you guys. So yeah, I think the direction from council is to explore, and then, I think it's just a direction given. You do say in your staff report, Rebecca, that you want motion and action, but in fact, I think we're just giving you direction to explore it
I
more.
think you could just give me action or motion to explore, or direction to explore.
Yeah, so I think direction to go explore and then bring that back for an actionable item. I think that's the consensus.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thanks, you guys. All right, that wraps up our regular agenda. We'll go to item 10, administration report, Rebecca.
Okay, so we've been on this roller coaster with the water, wastewater, critical infrastructure hazard mitigation grant from the winter storm 2019 since 2020. We've gone through every request for information and just on and on and on with our folks at LOES. And we kind of gave up hope. Like it's just not gonna happen, which is why we just said, forget it, we're gonna keep going on the booster wave. Booster wave was incorporated into part of that total project. So I got word from the granting agency that in fact, SHPO is done looking at it. They are going to send us the language to do a 15-day post. Then EHP or in the environmental, what does EHP stand for? Environmental Historic Preservation group is going to look at it, and then it will be recommended to award.
Oh, wow. Oh, congratulations. Wow.
What?
Right about the time you were sailing the ship.
Right about the time where I forget. We just gotta, we're just gonna do it. And so, that's very exciting because that is years in the making. And we really have given up hope. So, there are, those projects still sit on our CIP. So the other benefit is those would be, identified for grant funding. So that again, helps our study. The other good news, the rounds for Hop and Shop is out. So it's on the street. So we issued the $20,000 of city funds to the BOGO, buy one, get one, campaign. So it's, kind of the same as last time. So it's, you can buy limit of 2 cards, anywhere between $20 and $100, and you get a second one for the same value. So that is out there. And the nice part is any new businesses, we've reached out to them, see if they want to sign up. So Johnny the Label signed up within 5 minutes, I think. I was sending it to her. And then some businesses will align promotions with the Hop and Shop. So if you come in and you use your Hop and Shop card, then you get $10 for them. So it's a great program. Anytime, I'm talking to businesses, they just say, thank you. It's meant a lot to the businesses because it's really been impactful, that program. If you see people out and about, kind of on the ledges of Utica Park, or you might start seeing them on Stockton Road, that is our friends at the Greater Valley Corps. That is who helped us on the Utica Park demo.
Oh.
And so we have continued to run into staffing issues on the public works side for vegetation management. And so we reached out to Greater Valley, and they are back in our neighborhood and helping us. There was a recent article about the Greater Valley and the work that they do, and really the training that they do in order to benefit their organization and get people skilled in the labor force. And so I'm proud that we've been able to work with them on that. So you will see them out there. They are also going to help install our benches downtown. But the gentleman that has that skill is not going to be available to install until the week after fair. So we won't have our benches for fair, but it'll be the week after fair. And then slate circle lighting is done. So we heard the comments earlier about, thank you for doing that lighting. We did reach out to everyone that lives in the area or owns the buildings around there, just to, if the lights need to be brighter, let us know. So the nice part with those lights is they're adjustable. So they're on the lowest setting right now, which is still 1,000 times better than what was there. But if they need to be brighter, then it's very easy for us to do that. And after searching and searching and searching the right type of garbage can for downtown, we finally found it. It was on a trip to Monterey, and so I do what Amy does, and I take pictures of random park and road signs and benches and garbage cans. So I got in touch with the company that does the garbage cans. They're really beautiful garbage cans. So we will be putting an order in. They are less expensive than what I thought they were going to be when I come to council. I knew they would be expensive, but they're cheaper than that number. So I'm very excited about that. They will be black powder coated, nearly indestructible, split container with recycling on one side, garbage on the other, little tiny, so you can't shove your household garbage into it. So very excited about that. And then the only other thing is just, we just wanted to confirm June 4th works for groundbreaking. And like we said, it's really just a ceremonial, sweet, we're gonna do this. So staff, we're gonna kind of dig kind of a little dirt, so you're not having to sit there and try to dig into something that you can dig into. We'll get some shovels out there, invite the press, and celebrate a milestone of getting that project going. And I think that is it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 11, council report. I'll speak first. I attended the Utica meeting on April 30th. We entered the next phase of the FERC conduit exemption, where we now know that we had certain studies that are going to have to be done. One of which is an environmental study for the foothill yellow-legged frog, and that is going to have to be done regardless of what we do, whether we do recertification or the conduit exemption. So we did move forward with a $75,000 expenditure coming from the FERC reserve amount of money. For that cause, we did discuss the 24-25 draft budget and the 5-year JPA funding agreement. We, as a board, did support the Highway 4 collaboration and partnership resolution. We moved forward with a check signing addition. One of the board members, Tom Quincy from UPG, to be added to check signing at UWPA, as well as added Caroline as a member to the emergency action plan. And that's all I have to report on. Isabel.
Attended COG last Wednesday, and we did not, it was a very short meeting. But we had the public hearing for the unmet transit needs, which we basically just moved into the next step. And then the Caltrans report, can't remember her name. I wrote Georgia, but I don't.
Georgia.
She said it so quick. Is that
Gregoria.
Gregoria?
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, I was
Took me a
like,
second.
I knew that I. Yeah. But anyhow, so she was there. She talked about the 37.2 million in shop projects, and within that, there's 19.4, which is for our roundabouts that will be going in soon, as well as the Copperopolis projects that are going on down at the county line, east of Rock Creek Road. And in terms of the county, they said expect on May 28th the Clean California Air project, which includes the City of Angels. I believe that's when that's starting. The Oaklands Ferry Guardrail, June 11th, that was awarded. And then the Double Springs Road in June.
Oh, you're talking about the wayfinding signs.
The Clean California
Yeah.
sign.
It's
Yeah,
the wayfinding,
sorry, yes,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. What else did they say? Wagon Trail, construction approval from Caltrans for the retaining wall. So that's gonna be starting up. And then we did not have a CTA meeting, but we do want to remind everyone that free fares for the month of May in terms of public transit, and then the hopper for Saturday next week for fair.
What was the approximate date for the Angels wayfinding construction?
I wrote down 5/28, but I don't know that.
Okay.
That's when the Board of Supervisors is awarding the contracts
So
with
then
the
it'll be
two
after
contractors.
that.
So then there's gonna be I think 5/29 was the pre-con meeting, and then they're gonna hit the ground running.
Yeah, I know they'll be in construction this summer.
The signs are gonna start getting made the week of fair, because all the metal got ordered. Yeah, so that's like a major plus.
I try to jot these notes as they're talking.
I know.
Sometimes they're talking so fast. That's why I look at it a little like, oh, that's what it says. But anyhow, and then I did report out there that Mark Twain's moving, trying to just
Nice.
keep letting everybody know. That is all I have to report.
Nothing to report this time.
Alan?
I'm good. Like that.
Richmond Day.
I think since the last meeting, we all talked about the fact that the next day I attended a CPPA meeting. And I know that staff has received a memo from Dennis Dickman regarding rates, and the rates are gonna drop. And I think a lot of us attended all the wonderful ribbon cuttings that have occurred.
Yep.
And it's a wonderful thing to see new businesses come into town, and, you know, not only do we wish them the best, but, you know, I often think that a new business promotes the business that we currently have, because you're walking by and you're saying, hey, look at this place, and you walk in, and so it's a good thing. It's a good thing that businesses are taking off. I think that's it.
Absolutely, great. Okay, calendar, do we have the calendar?
Rose will email you tomorrow.
Yeah, she'll be back.
So we do have LAFCO
Perfect.
a week from Monday. I think the 21st or the 20th.
20th is LAFCO, correct, and I know Utica is the 28th, so that's a standard meeting. And anything else, we'll just get an email from Rose. Item 13, future agenda items.
I had one, but Amy left. I think the planning commission was gonna talk about flags to promote businesses, and maybe not the wavy ones that fall in the middle of the road. I just wanted an update on that.
Okay.
And also, taking a cue from the gentleman that was here, we don't have an ordinance regarding the starting time.
There we go.
I think we need to look at that.
Yeah, I have that written down too, and I've thought about it. There's a lot of, PG&E's doing a lot of work in the annex, and I've heard a lot of horror stories that they're starting early. I don't know where the gentleman lives.
They've done it in the middle of the night.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so I thought we had,
I
I thought we had a noise ordinance. I know that,
A general public nuisance ordinance, and within there, it does list.
Right.
Noise.
so we do have that. I just don't understand why that's not enforceable.
I'm gonna talk to the
Perfect.
police department to see why, I mean, because at that point, it's just kind of like best judgment, but I mean, honestly.
Yeah, if there's something we need to do, I agree with
Yeah.
everybody up here, we definitely need to. You
But
know,
I just-
I've told people people have asked me about barking dogs and things like that, and I've said, turn that in. I thought we had a noise ordinance, so.
But I just wonder whether or not PG&E, if there's an exemption. I mean, I know it's a pain in, but
No.
it's,
Construction is construction.
well, hey, okay.
Those people are trying to sleep. Those people
Right,
are
right.
absolutely.
And I don't know how much they're setting poles now, right?
They're setting poles, so we were getting complaints because the subs were doing work at like 2 in the morning.
Oh, they are. You can see the
They're doing
lights.
night work.
And
They're the
it's-
lights.
it's
Yeah, you can see the lights.
Night.
work in
Yeah.
neighborhoods, so PG&E did say that they had reached out to, all those properties. The problem is, it's just like when we're dealing with land use issues.
Right.
You do the
Notification.
notification, but that's to who the owner on record is. So
That's right.
if you are a landlord and you don't share that information with your tenants, the tenants don't get that information.
Yeah.
And I think there is, I'm not 100% positive, but like, we have to do certain outages during certain times. You can't just knock out people, you know what I mean? So maybe there is, I don't know.
Right, and then has PG&E pulled encroachment permits with us for doing that right away work? I mean, I know it's Caltrans right away, but it's still city
I
limits
believe they have, but I'll double check.
with Chris. Yeah, I've been wanting to. Another quick question, and it's off topic, but it's on the same subject. Are they gonna leave those second poles? You see the second pole, they're gonna leave that and not, I know that Comcast needs to come off or AT&T, the other utility needs to go, but they need to come back and remove those poles.
So we ran into that issue during the 2022 winter storm. So if you recall, one of the poles on, so it's not Centennial, it's Ramarini.
Mhm.
So one of those poles,
Snapped off an oak tree right there, wasn't it?
an oak tree. And so they had to put in another pole right
Mhm.
next to that pole. And so we've been contacting them this whole
Yeah.
time to please remove the second pole. They will not touch that second pole until the other utilities come and take their stuff off of the first pole.
And it takes a
And
minute.
those other utilities, it's just not on their radar of making that a priority. So, and PG&E is not proactively trying to get a hold of those utilities, so we're trying to get a hold of the utilities to try to implore them to take the infrastructure off the old poles.
So there's a little fun fact about bonds, because in a perfect world, if PG&E notified us properly and if we went through the process, we would have a bond, a performance bond with PG&E. PG&E is they're the first place person for the utility, then they've sublet it to Comcast and AT&T and everybody else. So they have skin in the game because they want their bond back. They're gonna ride the other utilities to come get off the pole so that they can complete the work and get their bond back. And if that doesn't happen, you have the bond. Then you can pull the bond and you can have somebody else come do it for you or for PG&E. But I think that's a perfect example of where we need to go with that. Cause I don't like the look of all those poles and all those wires and all that stuff. It looks horrible. I do have another comment to make real quick because somebody called me, on the new sidewalks, downtown where we still have the stakes in the ground and we have the, my brain's fried by now, but the
Wattles.
The wattles have since disintegrated. They're pretty much down to the ground and there's not much left, but those stakes are still sticking out. And somebody's gonna trip and fall on those stakes. And I know that that's Caltrans, I know that, but those stakes were there to keep the wattles in place. I really think we need to just pull the stakes. Or notify Caltrans because someone can fall on those and be of very bad risk.
Okay.
So if there's anything we can do, plus it looks horrible. Just stakes sticking up out of the ground, I think, but.
I just
Did
had
you have
one
more?
more. In the staff reports, Chris Oakland mentioned again that, he could get so much more done if he had additional staff. I know we've talked about putting it into the budget. Is that something that we can bring to council and have us act on and get it started, the posting of that?
So that's kind of some of what we'll be talking about, when we go back from closed session, but, yes and no. We have to identify the funding for it. You would have to approve the position allocation for it.
Wouldn't the funding come from the enterprise fund?
Yeah,
Cause, okay.
he needs it on the general fund.
Public Works.
Public Works.
Public Works.
Public Works side.
Okay.
Alvin or Isabel, did we cover anything that you
You're good.
want to add to? Okay. I think we're wrapping it up. We are not doing adjournment. We're going back into closed session, but for public, we'd like to thank you for attending. And we will go back into closed session at this time. Thank you. I'm gonna.